All right, top scorers in the NBA on this season. The title of the video says if Stephen Curry is a better scorer than Giannis Antetokounmpo. I personally think he is, in my opinion. We'll kind of get into some context of what I'm saying. I was watching a video the other day. They were comparing Donovan Mitchell to Giannis just in terms of being scorers, and someone says, you think Donovan Mitchell is better than Giannis Antetokounmpo at putting the ball in the basket? And I thought to myself, personally, I do think that personally, but that's where it gets tricky with scoring when people want to say this guy's a better scorer than this guy, because we can go to Shaquille O'Neal and say Shaq averaged all these points on 60% shooting for this many years straight. But even Shaq's 5 year prime, his scoring prime, I would never say he was a better scorer than Kobe Bryant, but Shaq was better than Kobe at putting the ball in the basket technically. So it's a weird debate as far as scores go, but we have Steph Curry right down here. He's at 29 points per game on 47% shooting from the field. Giannis doesn't show up on this list just because of his games missed, but Giannis is averaging he's basically 30 points, like 29 and a half points on 65% shooting. So it's just absolutely stupid. Giannis is scoring an insane amount of points on insane efficiency. I don't think we've ever seen anything like Giannis is doing right now, honestly. 29 and a half points on 65% shooting. He's just a fucking freight train coming down the lane, and nobody can stop that man. Um, I think we have Kevin Durant right down here. He's at 26 points per game on 52% shooting from the field. If you ask me who the best scorer of all time is, I probably would have Kevin Durant as the best scorer I've ever seen in my life. And again, Kevin Durant's right here at 15. There's 14 names in front of Kevin Durant. You can't tell me any of these guys are a better scorer than Durant, except maybe Luka, SGA. You could make the argument. Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Brunson, Edwards. I would not say any of these guys are better scorers than Kevin Durant. Even like right now, I guess you can make an argument right now for this season or at this time in their career, they are better scorers than Kevin Durant. But as far as just the totality of their career, I feel like Kevin Durant's the best scorer that I've ever seen. But it kind of comes back down to the argument: what do you think is a great scorer? Because I heard the argument, someone just said, you think that they were comparing Donovan Mitchell and Giannis. They said, you think Donovan Mitchell is better than Giannis at putting the ball into the basket? And if you word it that way, I guess technically you'd say he wouldn't be, because Giannis is averaging 30 points as well, just like Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is shooting right here. He's 50% from the field, so Giannis is averaging the same amount of points, but he's shooting 65% from the field instead of 49% from the field. So technically you'd say, yeah, Giannis, he averages just as many points on better efficiency. He puts the ball in the basket better than Donovan Mitchell does. He's a better scorer than Donovan Mitchell. He's better at putting the ball into the basket, but I wouldn't say scoring is all about just putting the ball into the basket. That's kind of the most simple way to break it down, but if it's like 10 seconds left in the game, I have Donovan Mitchell on my team and I have Giannis on my team, I'd rather have the ball in Donovan Mitchell's hands, tie game, down one, down two, especially down three. I'd rather have the ball in Donovan Mitchell's hands because he has more spots on the court he can score the ball from. He has more sweet spots than Giannis, where Giannis just wants to get downhill, wants to get into the paint and score, and he's one of the best ever at doing that. And Giannis is of course a great scorer, but it's almost like comparing Shaq to Kobe. There's not any time in Shaq's whole career, except I guess when Kobe was a rookie, but for the most part, I would never say Shaq was a better scorer than Kobe, even though you can point to certain seasons and say, hey, Shaq was better in this season. He put the ball in the basket more efficiently than Kobe Bryant. He scored more points maybe in this season. So you see one season and say, hey, Shaq's efficiency was better. He scored as many, if not the same amount of points. Shaq's the better scorer that season. Kind of just like comparing Giannis to Donovan Mitchell in this case. But I think there's more to scoring. In my opinion, it's how many spots on the court can you score the ball from comfortably. And if you're relying on somebody to get you the ball in your sweet spot to score, you can't get to your sweet spot on your own. That takes away a lot from you as a scorer, in my opinion. Shaquille O'Neal is a great example. He's a fucking beast. He gets the ball in the paint. He's going to dominate everybody. You have to send fucking quadruple team to try to stop that man. But he had to get in the post. He had to have somebody make a post entry pass, get him the ball in the right spot to be effective. So if you need somebody to pass you the ball in your sweet spot to score the ball, that takes away a lot from you, in my opinion, as a scorer. Where with Kobe Bryant, Donovan Mitchell, SGA, Luka, these types of guys, Tyrese Maxey as well, just give them the ball. They can bring the ball all the way up in the full court. You can give them the ball 3-point line, mid post. They can catch it off a back cut. Wherever you get them the ball, Kobe Bryant's my favorite scorer of all time personally. Kevin Durant's another good example. They have little hot spots, but they don't really have a hot spot. Every single spot on the court is their hot spot. Give Kevin Durant the ball. He can pull up from pretty much anywhere, and I like the shot. Kobe Bryant, give him the ball. He can pull up from pretty much anywhere. I like the shot. Same thing with like an Anthony Edwards, Luka, SGA. Give them the ball. They can bring it all the way up the court. Giannis can do the same thing as well, but they don't need somebody to pass them the ball in their sweet spot to be an efficient scorer. Where, with like a Shaquille O'Neal, Nikola Jokic, I guess to some level, he can bring the ball up in the full court and still be effective. You can kind of get Jokic the ball in any spot, and he's averaging 29.6 points on 60% shooting, pretty comparable to what Giannis is doing, but Giannis is averaging basically 29.5 on 65% shooting, so it's just insane. But kind of by the logic, if this guy's better at putting the ball in the basket than the other guy, he averages as many, if not more points on better efficiency. I don't necessarily think that that alone makes you a better scorer. A good example I would have, Kevin Durant, or actually Giannis. Giannis, the past 8 years for Giannis, he's basically averaging 29 points on 55% shooting the last 8 years straight. It's incredible. Giannis is an amazing player. He's an amazing scorer. I'm not saying he's not an amazing scorer, because he definitely is, but I would never say Giannis is a better scorer than Kobe Bryant. I wouldn't say he's a better scorer than Kevin Durant, Micheal Jordan, of course. If you ask me, is Giannis a better scorer than Melo? I know he is. But it's hard for me to say he is, because Melo can score more efficiently from mid-range. He can score from three. His mid-post game is better. He has more spots on the court where he's effective, where with Giannis, just destroys you in the paint. Similar to Shaq, just destroys you in the paint. Giannis doesn't need someone to give him an entry pass, so I think he's a better scorer than Shaq, because he can bring the ball all the way up in the full court and still dominate in a similar fashion to Shaq. But back to my point though, Giannis the past 8 years, he's averaging 29 points on 55% shooting these past 8 years combined. Micheal Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Melo, Kevin Durant, name your favorite scorer. They've never had an 8-year span where they averaged 29 points per game. Players have done that. They have averaged 29 points over an 8-year stretch, but none of those guys were shooting 55% from the field over an 8-year span while averaging 29 points per game. So again, that's what Giannis is doing these past 8 years. He's averaging 29 points per game on 55% shooting from the field. No one's ever done that before in NBA history. Maybe you can go to Wilt Chamberlain, but that's never happened before in the modern NBA. So if your argument is this guy's better than all the other people at putting the ball in the basket, this guy puts the ball in the basket better than this guy, if that's your argument, then I would just say, all right, the past 8 years, Giannis has averaged 29 points on 55% shooting. This past 8-year stretch Giannis has had is the best scoring stretch we've ever seen in the modern NBA. And I just don't think it's true. Again, Micheal Jordan never had an 8-year span where he's shooting 55% from the field and averaging 29 points over an 8-year span. So what Giannis is doing right now, it's unprecedented. You have to go to like Wilt Chamberlain to kind of compare what he's doing. But again, 55% from the field, 29 points, 8 years straight. I don't think you take that 8-year stretch from Giannis and say, hey, this is the best 8-year scoring stretch we've ever seen in NBA history, just because he's averaging 29 points on high efficiency and he's technically better than everyone else in that 8-year stretch at putting the ball in the basket. But, if it's the last 2 minutes of the game, the last 1 minute of the game, we're down 5 points, whatever it may be, I'd rather have like Luka, SGA, I'd rather have Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards on my team, Jalen Brunson, Steph Curry. I think all those guys, in my opinion, are probably better scorers than Giannis Antetokounmpo, because Giannis, he has to get the ball in the paint to be effective, where these other guys, especially like a Kevin Durant, Kobe Bryant, they don't really have a hot spot on the court. They have certain little sweet spots where they're most effective, but just give me the ball. If it comes down to it, I have to shoot a fadeaway three. I'm going to shoot it, and I have a pretty good chance of making that shot, even if people are playing perfect defense on me. So, it just depends on how you define being a scorer. I guess, is kind of the argument there. Again, Giannis, 8-year stretch, 29 points per game, 55% shooting over an 8-year average, and I wouldn't call that 8-year stretch the best 8-year scoring stretch I've ever seen in NBA history. So, when it comes down to scoring, I more think who's the guy I want the ball in their hands the last like 2 minutes of the game? Who's the guy I can give the ball to when we're down three with 10 seconds left? And they can get us a bucket. They can score the ball in those situations. Where with Giannis, he's amazing. He's very efficient. He's a great scorer. I'm not saying he's not a great scorer, but when I think great scorer, I'm thinking more of like a scoring bag where this guy can score from three. He can score mid range. He can score mid post, low post. He can finish at the rim, and he can do everything offensively, shooting, post game, ball handles, everything across their bag. That's more what I think of when I think being a great scorer. I don't really think Giannis is a better scorer than Donovan Mitchell. Let me know what y'all think. I think Donovan Mitchell is a better scorer than Giannis, just based on the things I was just saying as far as his three ball. He can create his own shot in the mid range better than Giannis, where Giannis is more just a downhill threat, almost like a Shaq. I like Giannis better than Shaq because Shaq has to get in the paint and have somebody give him an entry pass to be effective. That's another thing you have to take into consideration. Where with Giannis, you can just give him the ball, run up in the full court, and you can get right into what he's doing. But I don't think Giannis is the best scorer in the NBA. Again, I don't think these past 8 years from Giannis, even though he's averaging 29 points on 55% shooting, I don't think that's the best scoring stretch I've ever seen in NBA history. So let me know what y'all think. When I think of a scorer, again, I think more of a guy that can shoot threes, score from mid range, can score from any spot on the court pretty efficiently, instead of thinking of one guy that can just dominate the paint and they can put the ball in the basket better than these other guys technically, but they can't put the ball in the basket from as many different spots on the court as these other guys can. But please like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 7 million subscribers. Let me know what you think about a score. Let me know if you think Giannis, has had the best scoring stretch in NBA history these past 8 years, because he's been better than anybody except Wilt Chamberlain at putting the ball in the basket over these past 8 years. But Giannis doesn't have that complete bag where he can score mid-range, three ball, and just from all different spots on the court. Because that's more what I think about when I think of a scorer. I just think of a guy that can score from pretty much anywhere in the court instead of just being very, very dominant in the paint. But please like and subscribe. 7 million subscribers. Let me know what you think about what it means to be a great scorer, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace out.